where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning. Yeah. I'm talking to the guests in here, not letting y'all in on the conversation. Hi, guys. This is 1100 WSG. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is One Street Over. You know what we're doing. If you've been here a while, we like to visit with you an hour every day and just say, hey, what's happening? One street over from where we're living. And this is a great way to do it. And so thank you for joining us. We are blessed with our guest today, Dr. Danny Weeks. He is our director of schools. Welcome. Got your UT stuff going
That's
there.
right. When I come in this early, I usually don't get up and put my tie on, and I usually run back to the house and grab that on the way in. So.
Yes. I know everybody's like, LaVern, that's so early. Well, it's what we do. It's what we do. I've been getting up for morning radio for so long. It's just, I don't think anything about it. You know, I just get up dark 30, we've always called it. And then my husband was a roofing contractor for 20 years, and he got up even earlier than me in the summer. Because if you're going to get out and work on roofs, you got to do it as the sun's coming
Before
up.
that gets you right.
Yeah. So we would have crews going out 4 a.m. They'd be pulling out of our driveway to get at the job site, you know, just before dawn.
Right.
And that they would work, you know, and take an early lunch at 10 and
Right.
maybe come back. You know, they just had to in the desperate heat. But welcome.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it.
Well, and
Always.
I'm sorry, I talked too fast, but I'm just so excited. I saw a friend of mine's little one that got honored last night for getting a perfect score on his math. So y'all do that pretty much every month, don't you? Honor some kids or some type of staff. There's something like that where you want to give somebody recognition, right?
There's either a staff or, you know, we're even more excited when we are able to recognize an entire school or that. But when a school does that, a staff member does that, or last night was one of our highlights of hitting so many students, and we went back to last year's TCAP scores, and those students that did very well on that, we brought them in and recognized them.
I think that's great because, I mean, these kids, that is something that we do really, I think, better. I'll just say right now, Greenbrier, I think, does it better than anybody in the district as far as really giving the accolades to the academic achievement because we have the Renaissance program because Samantha Grimes is just a machine. And she's just, I mean, you talk about, it's so funny because I send her the news to post on the Facebook page. And I'm up all kinds of hours. And I said, I don't want to text you something in the middle of the night and wake you up. I said, do you keep your phone off? Because I said, I'm afraid I'll forget. She goes, I'll just send it. I get up at 4 a.m. I was like, oh, one of my people, you know? So the Renaissance program, if you're not aware of it, it's about applauding the kids that have achieved academically.
Right.
And you just don't get enough of that. We have, of course, the valedictorian, salutatorian. You have the honors club, or you have beta club and honor society and all those things. But they're kind of quiet and over to the side. But Renaissance is crazy. I mean, it's just like a crazy party and fun and just silly, fun stuff that they do. She sent me some rules for a cookie face contest we're going to be doing in the lunchroom at the end of this week. And it's just hysterical, but it just draws attention to, oh, why are we doing this? Well, it's a Renaissance thing, and we celebrate Renaissance because we want you to make academics a priority in your life. And so I just love that. So I love that y'all bring these kids in and acknowledge, way to go.
Well, one of the 6, we're calling them the overarching ideals that we've established for the year is recognizing excellence.
Yeah.
And so we like to do that, whether it's, somebody having perfect attendance for the week, whether it's somebody, scoring extremely high on there, whether it's a teacher being recognized for the work that they do. And again, our goal is to have all of our schools being recognized for something, doing a great job on something. So that recognition and, I firmly believe that, our job is to encourage and lift up others and not tear those down and, find the good in people. And so looking for ways to do that. And we're establishing a routine of how we do that. We like to recognize athletes, and we recognize athletes in the spring. We recognize coaches, and for instance, in August. And so the September meeting is when we recognize students from TCAP who have done a wonderful job. And so Mr. Walling, who is our data supervisor, he went through and we picked the top students at each grade, at each subject level, from third grade all the way through high school, and of course tests. And we were able to recognize them. There were more than 50 students last night. And it was exciting to be able to recognize them and their families. Many of them, from elementary school, middle schools, not only brought one parent, but some of them brought two, and some of them brought brothers and sisters and grandparents. So we had a wonderful evening. It was, it's just so exciting to see a room full of people that really believe and really support what you're doing. And, they're so supportive of their families. And so just to have them there, to give them that moment of recognition, to let everybody know it's possible to achieve. And, next month, I'll kind of give a preview of that. We're going to recognize the teachers that had the highest scores per grade level per subject in those areas. So next month.
On the ones that got their kids got the highest scores.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And not necessarily those students that were recognized last night, but overall the teachers who might have had high scores in their classrooms.
Yeah. Well, and that's just, and it was just so funny because one of my friends, Beth Rhodes, her son was one of them that got a perfect score in his TCAP math score. I'm just looking it up for Colin. And so and it's just the pride. You can just see that right there.
Yeah,
Isn't that the sweetest
wonderful
thing? That's the first thing that popped up whenever I turned on my phone this morning was, her and Colin, and I just thought that was so sweet. And I thought, well, I know what I'm going to ask Dr. Weeks about first
and
thing this
Miss
morning.
LaVern, it did my heart so much good last night to see perfect scores in math. And I'm a former math teacher, and so I don't remember as many perfect scores in ELA, and I don't remember as perfect scores in science. But there were an awful lot of scores that were very high in math, and we had a lot of ties. So we had a lot of students that just knocked the top out of it.
Well, and that's encouraging because math has been a struggle bus, and it's and two, finding math teachers. That is just, is that still an issue trying to find math teachers? Is that probably one of your top sought after jobs right now? That and special needs.
Special needs students we still have openings in special needs students today, but math, it's. The field of mathematics is so competitive, and so a lot of people who have the ability mathematically to perform in math and to know how to do all the calculations and do that, a lot of times they're not seeking education. They're going into engineering, statistics, accounting, and other fields like that. And so to draw them and attract them to public education, that's really tough. But yes, languages, foreign language. We're at a desperate need for foreign language teachers and need more all the time. Special needs students, people that have that heart to take care of the special needs students, provide them a quality education that matches their needs, and having the skill to do that, that's tough too. So those are the places that we're always looking for teachers. Of course, any given year there might be. We've had trouble finding English teachers before. We've had trouble finding elementary teachers before. Right. So we always have openings. I would encourage anybody to, always check the website. And I know we've had that conversation many times before. Even if someone says, I don't have a teaching license, but I have a bachelor's degree or almost have a bachelor's degree, come see us. We can try to work things out, and we can help you find out what steps are needed. And oftentimes, this from firsthand experience, you can teach while you're working on completing those requirements for your educational license.
Right. And it's just like with the CTE program, you have to go, my program is called Teach Now. It's basically teaching you to be a teacher, even though, my husband has his master's, but he had never had any kind of educational instruction. So he got his at UT Martin. Now he's already done. And he did his, started in January and got finished. He worked all over the summer. And I started mine last summer, like in 2023, and won't be done until December.
Right.
And mine's in Murfreesboro. So there's all kinds of programs out there. The UT Martin one's kind of seems to be the most popular one right now.
Well,
and you can do and that's CTE.
Right. And we have partnerships with all kinds of universities. And, we work mainly, I guess, with Austin P here being in our back door and things like that. But there are all kinds of programs. I've always said it's kind of like buying a car. There are lots of programs out there. Let's find the one that fits you best and meets your needs.
Well, it's like whenever I was looking, when I went to the job fair. fair because I knew teaching has just always been in the back of my mind. I was a teaching major when I first started college and then switched over to broadcasting. So it's always been in my head to consider it. And so when I went to the job fair, I really wanted to go. I wanted to be an ELL, and I was going to go work at Springfield because they start at 8:30, and that was the reason I picked it because of my radio schedule. And so I was looking at classes at Austin P to get me up to speed to where I could do ELL. And then I got the phone call from Dr. Osborne saying, well, we think we have a different plan for you. And I was like, oh, good. So anyway, and honestly, I was telling, I'm not sure who I said this to the other day. I think it was Dr. Osborne because she was in here when we interviewed the principals. And I told her, I said, it's really funny because now that I'm watching the ELL program and see what's really required, I'm thinking, who? Because you really need to have some kind of a command of the language to be able to help these kids.
Right.
And I love my Hispanic kids, my Latino kids. They're just precious. And because I have such a heart for newcomers to the country, and I get so tickled because I'm like, go see Mr. Diaz, because I'm like, we're hitting the language barrier, and I'll do the translator, and I'll do a little bit, and I'm like, I think you need to go. We need to go see him, and then we have a wonderful teacher from Ukraine that's in one of our ELLs, and that's when you mentioned language issues. Are we primarily looking for Spanish language teachers? Or do we have other languages that we're teaching in school? Because I think we only teach Spanish.
We're currently only teaching Spanish,
right?
But as you mentioned, the ELL population, and so I think what surprises a lot of people is many of our ELL teachers we don't teach in Spanish, and we hope that language barrier. So it is helpful if people are bilingual and can speak the two languages, but certainly, the instruction all comes back to English. And I think we've talked about that before, as I've traveled to other countries and things like that. And, language is such a barrier between, learning and finding directions, finding your way around and things. So, helping these students acclimate to the United States, to the English language, and, it is such a calling. Again, it's much like special needs. It's finding that desire to help people and to minister to people and serve people. And, it's such an opportunity.
And that's the key. There's so many opportunities right now in education. And I cannot say enough about how that if you really want to make a difference in the country, y'all, you need to get busy in your community and change it from the inside out. Period. Forget, we all got to vote. We all got to pay attention to what's going on with our elected officials. Absolutely. Be good, responsible, and be good steward of what we have here. But if you really want to make a difference, get in the trenches and be a substitute teacher, be a bus driver, be a teacher's aide, be whatever, because there's all kinds. Go work in the lunchroom. I mean, those ladies are wonderful. And just all of those things. And speaking of newcomers, one of my Egyptian friends is saying hello. Hi, Wahaba. And anyway, I haven't seen him in a while, but anyway, it's just, there's just a ton of opportunity out there and cannot say enough about it. It's been such a blessing for my husband and I. If you're looking for, if you've done all, you've had these careers, you've had all these things you've done, and you're thinking, well, I'm getting older, consider retiring into teacher, at the very least, maybe as a substitute or being a bus driver, something, because it is, I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and the nurse that was helping me, we were talking about it, and she's, looking into medical CTE, and I said, it's wonderful.
Right.
And so there's just so many opportunities, guys. Can't say enough about it. I didn't mean to get off on that and do the pitch for retiring into teaching, but it is a great opportunity, and we need you. We need you. Dr. Danny Weeks is in the house. They had a school board meeting last night. I kind of jumped the gun on it and asked him specifically about the awards because a friend of mine's little boy got honored last night, and so I wanted to know more about that. But what else did you guys do? Where do you want to start as far as the meeting last night?
Well, last night was a unique meeting. As we know, we had a school board election over the summer, and so last night the new, or well, I should say the returning board members, Mayor Vogel was with us, and he gave the oath of office to our new board members, the returning board members. So that was, to me, it's a moving experience when you recognize the family for the going through the election process.
It's
That's
awful.
tough, and spending the time and the money
I'll just tell you, it's
uh,
not fun.
and it to me serving on the board is
It's hard.
it's a
Yeah.
tough job. But Mayor Vogel was there, gave the oath of office to those families, and we took some pictures. And then also after the September board meeting is when we elect officers for the new year. And so last night, Miss Connie Hogan, who served on the board for several years, she was elected as chairman of the board.
Okay.
So we congratulate Miss Hogan. Look forward to working with her. Mr. Josh White is elected vice chairman, and so Josh took that position. And Miss Demetria White, she is our legislative network liaison. So she talks to legislators, finds out from the
She's a good one to do
association
that.
to be able to do that. So
She did that before, didn't she?
I think she's
I
done
think
that
she's
role.
done that before, but I think she's excellent at that.
Yes.
And I know her well, and yeah, I think that's a really good position for her. What was I going to ask you? Did we have any new board members, or was it all returning?
These were all returning board
Okay,
members.
so there was no changeover.
That's
in that?
correct.
Okay, I
But,
didn't think so, but I was just wondering for sure.
But new to the position,
Yeah.
and new to the year,
Sure.
and again, Mayor Vogel came by, and we have an oath of office ceremony, and they read their charge, they read their expectations, and promise to uphold the Constitution, the rules, and put public education as a priority in what they do. And it's been such a privilege to work for this board. They are very pro public education. They're very pro students, and so again, helping support building budgets around what we do. I would thank Mr. Stephen Ayers. Mr. Ayers has served as chair for the year, and he was, Ms. Hogan accepted that chairmanship last night. So a lot of work ahead of us,
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of things to do, and excited to look at that with just a different change of leadership.
Very good. Very good. Well, what else did you have? We'll take a break here in just a minute, but go ahead. And
Sure.
what else did you have next?
Well, normal things there. Students from IA last night came and led the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're glad to have that group. Dr. Bell and his staff do a great job at IA bringing them in. We had a rather large consent agenda, and the consent agenda are those basically when the board takes a look at reports that we're turning in or submitting. A lot of times those are agreements that we might have with colleges to provide dual enrollment opportunities and things like that. So I think we had 17 or 18 items on the consent agenda. And usually, I hate to say that's just a time saver. It's not, because the items that they look through on consent agenda, they're saying, that we trust the administration to do these things and to take care of these things. So they don't need a lot of discussion. They don't need a lot of approval. So, some of the policies that they looked at on second reading, but a lot of them, we have an agreement between our school system and the Department of Education to provide special needs services for deaf and blind children at the school for the blind and school for the deaf. So, an agreement like that really doesn't require any discussion. We know
Right.
we're going to do that.
Yeah.
So they place those items in the consent agenda. We had several items. We have physical therapy services for our athletes at all of our high schools. And again, rather than reading through a 10-page contract or something like that, we send that to board members ahead of time so they can review that contract. They take a look at it, then they approve things like that during the consent agenda. But I did want to highlight a couple of things in the consent agenda that I think are important for the general public to realize. And that is, first of all, our school support organizations and our cooperative activities. And so these are your PTOs, your booster clubs, the things like that are led by adults that are coming alongside the school administration and helping to, and oftentimes raise funds or perform work for the school. And so every year, those lists of school support organizations is what they're called. They have to complete an application. They have to go through the Secretary of State. They have to go through that office and check off several affirmations that they're protecting our money, they're taking care of the money, they're using it in the right way. They have sound internal controls and places there so that when they're doing fundraising, we put that confidence in them to be able to know that it's being taken care of and being protected. And so between those and the cooperative activities, so cooperative activities are again those things that we're bringing into schools for students, and the most simple one is school school pictures. You know that as you know, every grade from kindergarten all the way up through seniors get their pictures taken, and you know, it's a service to students and a service to families, but also, you know, the school does make a little money off of those fundraiser type things, and so. The schools submit a list of those cooperative activities. Coke machines, for instance, would be an example of a cooperative activity where a vendor's coming in, placing something in the school. It's really of a service type thing for us as, you know, as employees and as students to come in there and use it, and then the schools get some money back on there. So, so they had an opportunity to take a look at the cooperative activities and make sure they meet the standards. And again, we've reviewed those. We feel comfortable with them, so we place them on a consent agenda for them to look at. So we'll be doing that. We'll be finishing up school support organizations next month, so those will be on the consent agenda. So you know, unfortunately, just in the world that we live in, there's some people who might try to take advantage of, you know, of someone not knowing and someone saying, I'm raising money for this purpose or that purpose and things like that. So on our website, there's a list of approved school support organizations. So if somebody comes around and says, I'm selling this for Joe Burns football. If you're not sure about who that is or what they're doing and things like that, you know, it's easy to say, I'm working with this club or this organization. Let me check that out on the web before I buy something or give somebody money that I'm not sure what it is. And again, that that group is vetted under the Secretary of State's office, under our office for making sure that they have those accounting procedures in place, and that they have that support of the administration to say we're on the same page with our mission and values with those organizations. So I think that's important for us. You know, so many people are again out there trying to scam us. You know, our phones ring all the time, and we get emails that we don't know about what those mean. So when someone knows that they're an approved school support organization, our public can feel comfortable that they are raising money in cooperation with that school administration.
Well, and I know we're, you know, forming a club with my class, and this is our first year really to get into that. We got approvals on it last year, but we were just still trying to get all the pieces in place. And we had an idea for a fundraiser, and we had to submit it.
Right.
And get approval on it.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh, we're just going to do this.
Right.
We had to submit it. And so that's, I appreciate knowing the process on that because I just knew that was part of it.
Yes.
So yeah, we don't just decide, oh, we're going to do this. No. And I love too that a lot of the schools are coming along and doing their own print as far as making shirts and all that. And that's something, it seems like it's popping up at just about every school.
Right.
We have one now. I'm
Yes.
just so excited about that because I've got some Bobcat Studio stuff that we got to get produced. And my husband was mentioning the same thing at Springfield and needing stuff for criminal justice for when they compete, and that we can do that in-house and help those clubs that are, you know, and teach kids about the process of running a business
Right.
and all. It's just cool. And so there's so much of that kind of stuff that goes on. So I just think that's really interesting. It just gives
Another
layer.
great CTE program, and working in
Yeah.
partnership with those, you know, the leaders. And like you said, it's just not the laborious part of doing the work, but it's learning, you know, that
Yes.
we need to buy these at this cost. We need to sell them at this cost to make the profit and to take care of our overhead and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so funny. We used to have a sticker we kept on one of our work trucks, got profit, because if you don't have profit, that's what drives it. It's like, why are you in business? You know, if you're a nonprofit, then that's a different story. Let me go ahead and take a break. We're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. He's our director of schools. If you're new and you haven't met him, this gentleman right here is, again, our director of schools, and very easy to get in touch with at the central office. You can reach out for him if you need an appointment or something, but doors always open is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But we want to talk about our friends over at Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. This is the historic Highlight Rim Speedway. They've been revamping everything that they're doing out there this year. They started out this year with a huge renovation. Beautiful renovation. And so Jerry says, get out here before the season's over. You're going to see what we've done with the place. And then they also kind of tweaked their webpage or their social media page. If you go to it, they've changed the way it looks. And they've also, I love that they are now calling themselves Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. And really making that their banner, because it is at the historic Highland Rim Speedway. And if you want to follow them on social media, you need to follow them at Highland Rim Speedway. And you really need to follow them because by doing that, if you're planning on going to the races and maybe there's a rain delay or there's something going on that they need to let you know about, that's where they're going to put it first. So be sure and check it out and get it on your calendar to get out there before the racing season ends at the end of October. Veterans Motorplex at the Rim is at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. It is a historic racetrack. I mean, all kinds of big names have raced on this track. This very cool quarter-mile high-banked asphalt bull ring, a place where you can have fun for the whole family. They have this family ticket that they have been just promoting ever since I first started working with them. $40 will get a family of up to 8 people in, up to 6 kids and 2 adults for a $40 ticket price. That's an amazing deal. And you've got a great concession stand when you get in there, very reasonably priced and good food and just a good atmosphere for your family. Get out to the races. They're going to have so much fun. I talked to my son this weekend about when we're going to get the grandkids out there because I really want to get them out to the races before the season's over. We're trying to navigate the world of baseball. We've got baseball and softball and t-ball and all the things. You know how that goes. And but we definitely got to get all the kids out to Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, the historic Highland Rim Speedway. You will have a blast. Get out there this weekend. The gates will open at 4:15. Racing will start at 7, and it's going to be a beautiful weekend to be at the races. So get out to Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, and when you see Jerry, always please let him know. Talking with Dr. David Weeks,
recognitions, and so I would like to highlight and recognize Ms. Heather Alexander. She's one of our school librarians, and as you know, a lot of faculty groups have a statewide association that meet together once or twice a year to make plans and talk about best practices. And so Miss Alexander's been a librarian for quite some time, and she was elected the president-elect of the Tennessee Association of School Librarians.
That's great.
And so that is, I understand, is a 3-year term. So you're president-elect, then you become president, then you're past president. So she serves on that board and helps work on standards for libraries, for librarians, and things like that. So we were able to recognize her last night for her work and the potential work that she's going to be doing, the leadership she's doing. Secondly, we recognized some teachers that participated in a grant program last year at Springfield High School. It was called Gear Up, and it really helped students analyze where they are and where they wanted to go. And there was a focus on college, but it's not, there's so many career options out there. So college was not the main focus. But these ladies, we received a grant, and my understanding the last year was the final year of that grant. I think it was a 3 or 4 year grant process. And so Miss Rebecca Robertson, who is a retired teacher, Miss Angie Inman, who is a retired teacher, and Miss Margaret Thompson and Miss Leslie Dean, they were able to work one-on-one with students, and they would talk to them about, if there were some barriers to college or understanding college entrance requirements or applications, those are complicated FAFSA applications, how to get financial aid, just any of the things that students might have that need for transitioning to, could be a 4-year college, 2-year college, or, just helping them, talk about job applications and filling out a good job application, writing a good resume. And so Dr. Tucker, principal there at Springfield High School, shared with us that this was the last year of the grant and that these teachers had done an excellent job working with students. So he wanted to have us recognize them at the board last night. So we were able to do that. Probably one of the most important things that our board has asked that we do, and I know, hope you'll get this word today. We're going to share this with all of our high school students, but there has been a renewed emphasis on student attendance at school. And so, I think we all became a little lax during COVID. We didn't know, there was so much information to process, and rules would change from week to week or month to month. And, what was expected of us as the government told us when we could be in school, or if we had to wear masks, and then, if you had COVID, how many days you had to stay out of school, and all those kind of things. And so, I remember there were some people that, couldn't be in school for 15 or 20 days based on what stage or contact level they had and different things like that. But I think, again, maybe it's been tough for us to get back into school on a regular basis and doing that. So our board has asked us to explore some options for having students be in school. And so they wanted to make that incentive for the students um, who are in good attendance. I didn't say perfect attendance. That would be our goal, but to have good attendance. And so they came up with the idea of an exam exemption.
Mhm.
So students that meet certain qualifications will be exempt from their exams in high school. So we're excited to do that. We're going to get that word out tomorrow, and then the attendance rule. This rule is going to actually come into effect on Wednesday, because we know some students have already missed some days of school already,
Okay.
and so we're kind of wiping that slate clean, and we're
Okay.
starting on Wednesday. And so it says that, first of all, a student must not have been suspended out of school. So uh, good behavior is a part of that as well. Secondly, they couldn't have more than 5 tardies or early dismissals. So that's, they need to be at school on time, or, stay, less than 5 times. We understand there's some appointments that students need to be at. We understand that,
Mhm.
Sometimes you can only get a doctor's appointment at
Right.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to
That's-
leave a little bit early.
Even
to get
as
there.
teachers have
Even
those
us, that's right.
struggles. You just
Yeah.
have to do the best you can. Yeah.
So we say 5 of those. But if you meet those 2 criteria, if you've not been suspended, and you have 5 or less tardies and early dismissals, then if a student has an A in that class going into there, uh, and they have 3 3 excused absences, they don't have to take their exam.
Okay.
And so that's an incentive for them to be able to do that. Students that have a B in the class, they can miss twice with 2 excused absences and then still not have to take their exam.
Okay.
So it is an incentive to help our high school students that maybe just get up and don't feel like coming in. Think, oh, I won't have to study for that final exam or that midterm
Mhm.
exam to be able to do that. And I think that's a great incentive for several of our folks. So the board felt very strongly about that. They asked us to draft this pilot program, and so we're going to try that out this year to see what impact that has on attendance. Um, I think there are some people that said, well, an exam might help me. And so we're going to offer those students who want to take their exams, maybe they're borderline B, C, or A or B or something like
Uh-huh.
that. And so if they want to take their exams, they may come in and do so and not be penalized in any way for that. So if they come in and they take the exam and their grade is improved because of that, they'll get the improved grade.
Yeah.
If they come in and take it and let's just say the exam were harder than they thought it was, or they didn't do quite as well as they thought it would, there's going to be no penalty. So that will not count against them and then will not lower their grade in any way.
Okay. So that's interesting, because if somebody says, well, I think I'm going to do well on the exam, and then they don't, and they had the option to opt out of it, and they say, okay, I want you to drop that grade,
Right.
because
Drop that grade.
wow, very interesting. Because and I had one student that was in D category, took a test
Mhm.
that's weighted heavier than some of
Mhm.
the daily stuff,
Mhm.
and it brought him up to C cat,
Mhm.
and it was important because he's an athlete.
Yeah.
And so that just seeing those kinds of things and how it can change the grades and stuff
Mhm.
is, I get that. And we had known, I know, because we do the news and things such as that at Greenbrier. We had already known about the policy, but I did not realize it was going in place until Wednesday.
Yeah. We're
So
actually going to
we'll
start
put
that
that
on
in our
Wednesday.
news
There
for
you go.
tomorrow. How about that?
And
We'll include that.
and that's
Okay.
that's for our high school students. And
Yeah.
so I just said, we from our office, our leadership team has gone and we've visited every school at the start of the year and talked to principals, talked about being on board with our goals and our expectations, and that consistency between county vision and school vision, school mission and county mission, and goals and objectives we want to accomplish. So almost every one of our schools, whether it was a pre-K school or whether it's the middle schools and high schools, they all have talked about that attendance, the importance of attendance and being at school, and they have incentives for students that are doing that. And it's exciting to see the creativity of our school leadership teams as they've come up with things to do. You mentioned Renaissance program, and several of them have programs like that do recognize attendance and recognize, again, not always perfect attendance, but it may be just good attendance. And so good attendance for could be for a week, could be for there's just such a variety of how they're addressing that throughout the schools. And you know, that's something that, everybody's eligible to do. Everybody doesn't have perfect health, and everybody doesn't have perfect attendance. But, we can strive for, we've said sometimes strive for five, which means just let's go 5 days with perfect attendance.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the schools had 10 days perfect attendance where they would spell out the word ATT, NDA, and CE. And so when you get 10 days of perfect attendance, then something great happens at that school that day. So
Very cool.
very creative there. So again, we're going to get that cleaned up and get that out. So our parents will be getting an email this afternoon with this information on there, or students will be getting that information. And again, if somebody's already missed 3, 4, 5 days, okay, no,
New slate on Wednesday.
we're wiping it
Okay.
clean, starting
Okay,
over on
good
that. So
deal.
we're excited about that. And then uh, just some cleanup type stuff that our board did look at last night. We're going to be purchasing and building some new greenhouses. Greenbrier High is going to get one of those.
Oh,
Joe
fun.
Burns
Yay.
High and East Robertson High. So we're putting 3 greenhouses in, and so they approved some bids on the construction of those.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at school bus purchasing. We're going to buy a couple of school buses to. There's such a backlog on those buses because of the industry and supply chain issues. So we're actually buying some buses. We had some that have to come off the road because of the mileage that they have. So doing that. Bus tire bids, that's always
yeah.
a high one. So we've done that. And so looking at those items. And then finally, just as we summarize in my director's report, those things that we're wrapping up. And we would like to recognize, again, East Robertson and Joe Burns High School. Both of those schools received from the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. They were called FAFSA champions. And so the FAFSA is, again, where students and all families have to fill out the application for federal financial aid.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they need that student aid to go to college, any type of scholarship, the FAFSA is out there. And it's really intimidating for families, I think. Students need their parents' income
Information.
in order to fill that out. And, most children don't have that discussion with their parents about, what's our income and can I see our income taxes and things like that. So there's a lot of just general information that the student has to fill out, but the parents usually go in and fill out the income related stuff and the tax related stuff. And so East Robertson and Joe Burns were recognized for large increases in the number of students that completed the FAFSA, or it could be that they held special events and special trainings where parents could come in and the school would actually help them do those. And so those schools were recognized for that. And so we recognize Principal Haynes was there at Joe Burns last year, and Miss Cook and her staff there at East Robertson. So they were recognized for their work from last year. And again, we just reminded parents last night, and we remind everybody again today that progress reports came out, first term progress reports. And so we would encourage at all times that a parent who needs to check on their student and wants to check on their student, and we encourage that. I say needs to. I mean, we all need to check on our students and see how they're doing, and if there's something that we can do to encourage and support them in their classes. And to do that, it's not always academic. Sometimes it's behavioral. Sometimes it's just work habits and things like that. So progress reports did come out, and so parents should have seen those. And a lot of schools require a signature, and they go back to school and turn those in. But we'd also remind them that Power School is open every day. And so as parents have their passwords to Power School, they can go in, log in, and see, day by day, assignment by assignment, how the students are doing in every class. They can also check attendance and check other scores and things like that to see how their students are doing. So we reminded the board of that, and then we reminded parents of that through this means. And then we also talked about parent-teacher conferences coming up.
Okay.
And so
because we start out with we always have our open house thing, but then we have the parent teachers conferences. We Is there a set? Because I mean, I know I'll just share. Okay, we're having parent teachers conference on this day. Is there do we do that once a semester or twice? I mean, how often do we do that?
We do that once in the spring, once in the fall.
That's what I was
and
thinking.
so
That's what I was thinking.
we give schools a window and say,
Okay.
here's a window of time when you can schedule yours.
Hmm.
A lot of them do that from 3:30 until 6:30.
Right.
Allows parents maybe that are, have some flexibility to come in those 3:30, 4 o'clock times and things like that, and then some people that might work and have a more difficult time getting off and coming into parent teacher conferences to do some of those later appointments, 5:36 and things like that. But we schedule those intentionally. Again, it's a time when oftentimes we need a translator there. Again, we talked about the language barrier earlier, but we schedule that so that our translators are available to go in and have that conversation with parents and with teachers. And so I think those started. I know we had a couple last night actually during the board meeting,
Okay.
and then they will carry over. I think through mid next week.
Okay.
And so again, to schedule 22 nights of conferences and making
Right.
sure we have the translators there available, but they're required to have 3 hours of those in the fall. So
Okay.
so
I'm not sure when ours is. I just when you mentioned that, I thought, okay, when are we having
Yeah.
ours? It just hadn't struck me that, and I'm sure we've been told, but it's just like you get a lot of emails as teachers. Let me go ahead and pause,
Sure.
Dr. Weeks. So we got to do one more commercial here, but we're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. This is our director of schools here in Robertson County. His door is always open. I invite you to, if you have any concerns, reach out to him at the central office. And if you have any concerns in real estate, I invite you to reach out to my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. You know them well. If you've been listening to this program, they're our longest full-time sponsor, and we love them a lot. They just really love on the community too. They are so involved in the community. They are from Cross Plains. We like to call them Cross Plainians. They've been there for nearly 30 years now, and they've been in real estate a long time. Rebecca, quite a bit longer than Barry. He was vice president of a media marketing company for nearly 17 years up in Nashville. She came out of a radiology background, and it's so interesting because she started doing real estate part-time and just quickly fell in love with it. Turned to where she's doing everything in real estate. Many, many years ago, she was one of the first in area to be a seniors real estate specialist, which means exactly what it says. If you're somebody and you're thinking, I think I need to downsize, she's an expert helping you get that organized and do that. I love that they have this diverse background because they both have worked around Nashville and the surrounding areas at different times in their career, so they know the area. They specialize in Robertson County properties because they're one of us, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across state line in Kentucky because, like me, they are from Kentucky. So just a really well-rounded couple. She has an agency office up in White House. He has the brokerage office here in Springfield, and they combine those two offices to give you a new branch in the Exit Tree. They are Exit Prime Realty. They've been with the Garden Gate team for many, many years, but then they started a new branch in the Tree earlier this year, I guess, and Exit Prime Realty is how you can find them, or you can just give Rebecca a call at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, and always, you know what to do. Let them know that you turned Dr. Danny Weeks in the house. And of course, you can always go and watch the entire thing. How do they find that? How do they find the board meeting?
our website is rcstn.net, Robertson County Schools, Tennessee.net. And there's a section on there with board members, and so you can find out who your board members are. You can find out a little bit about them. The agenda will be posted on there. It's posted, I think the state law requires that 48 hours. We try to do better than that, but I think it requires 48 hours advance notice of the agenda to see what that is. And then they can find that on our YouTube channel. They can link that up through YouTube. They can find it on the website either way. And so lots of ways to get to it.
Okay.
So,
very good. And you
yeah.
can see all the kiddos getting their awards.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
that's always exciting.
What else you got for us?
Let's just finish up parent-teacher conference. A lot of times, parents have that misconception it's only if my child's failing or if my child's not
Right.
doing well. So, we want to have that conversation with, with parents. I remember teaching, and, a lot of my parents would say, well, do I need to come? And I'd say, like, I'd like to meet you. I'd just like to see who you are. And, like, if I didn't meet you at open house, because open house is kind of a time of, you see everybody coming
Busy.
in. You're seeing some of your former students come in and things like that. People wanting to come in and see your room and different things. But open house is just that. It's all the parents in at one time, or whoever just happens to be there. But that parent teacher conference, it might just be a 5 minute conversation, but you know, um, we all like to be affirmed for our work. We like to be patted on the back, and to go in and have your teacher say, your child really does a great job in my class, or they're always turning their work in on time, or they're always contributing to conversation and dialogue. Those are such affirming things for parents. And then I think when a parent comes home and says to their child, the teacher complimented you on the way you do this or that. So it's a good time. And again, we encourage appointments, but sometimes it's just a matter of just going by and standing outside a teacher's room and waiting for that opportunity to come in and things like that. We have asked teachers to start scheduling those appointments for their students and things. And certainly we want them to um, again be intentional. So if someone is really experiencing difficulties, we want them to schedule that meeting. We want them to schedule that time. And um, I would advise parents, call your school, check and see, should I think there's always that conversation is, should my child be a part of that conference? And I think that depends on, sometimes what you want to talk about, and sometimes how we need to have conversations. And I think the maturity level of the child's also important. Sometimes it might do a high school senior might do them well to be sitting here and we're having a conversation about they're behind in their classes, or they're not doing their work, or they're being disruptive. To talk about the importance of, we need to finish strong. We need to take care of getting these credits. We need to get our grades up and things like that. But sometimes there's some issues that maybe a student's not best at the table. And so maybe that's a conversation that best between the parent and the teacher, and then they can go home and, make adjustments as they need to. But again, we want everybody to have an opportunity to come in and see their teachers.
And I love it because when I get a chance, of course, a lot of the freshman parents will come in and we see it fall off dramatically the older they get. But I love talking to their parents because it gives you a nuance of the child. You understand the child better when you get to know the parents. You meet a parent and you're like, okay, I see that in your kid, and it's just fun.
It is.
And it is. We love meeting you. So I hope you'll definitely come out to the parents teachers meetings. But we do. I mean, you see that influx of freshmen, and then it kind of starts wavering. But come to the parent teachers meeting. We get, we want to see you. We absolutely want to meet you. I'll call some of them even and have them, they'll encourage them to come by and say, hey, let's, we've talked on the phone, let's talk in person.
Yeah. And I think that reinforces that partnership between schools, students, and family. When there's that connection, sometimes the student feels like they get the bad end of that, but it's really, it's strengthening that bond between the school and the family. And so everybody's talking about the importance of education. And so when the student hears that it's not just coming one way from school, and, the parents are supporting what's going on. So we're excited about that. So that's coming up. Last thing is our school board is participating in something called the Fall District Meeting. And so our school board and our county is a member of the Mid-Cumberland District. There are 16 school systems that surround the metro area. We go all the way over to Wilson County, and as far west as Humphreys County on the west side. And so all of those schools, including Metro, Williamson County, Rutherford County, so it's a lot of the big school systems, we meet together 2 or 3 times a year and just talk about issues that school boards are facing. So Thursday evening, our entire school board, along with our directors and assistant directors, are going to, I think it's held in Murfreesboro this year. So we're going to go down and get some training for board members, talk about trends and issues, talk about upcoming legislation and things like that. So we'll be doing that. And then they give out some awards. We've got a pretty good insight that we have a person from Robertson County that's going to be getting a pretty nice award from the cool. School Board Association. And so next time when we come in, we'll be able to share that with you. So
it's a secret right now.
It is right now. So
very good.
We'll share that. The last thing I had today is I just want to go back, not to replay your commercial, but when you talked about one of your sponsors, being community minded and working. I've had 2 phone calls this week. So it's already just, yesterday. And both people opened new businesses, one here in Springfield and one in White House. And they said, we want to support schools. What can we do?
I love that.
And I was just, so shocked because, you never know what you're going to get when somebody calls and you never know what they're expecting. But somebody just came to the county, set up a business, and they said, I know at the start of school year, sometimes people need supplies. And right now, we're very blessed to have had a lot of school supplies. But they said, could I come read to students? And, what an opportunity for somebody to take time. And she said, I'd love to give my employees an opportunity just to come in and read with, some elementary students that need somebody to read with them and help them through that process. And she said, we have some staff that can volunteer. I think they must have had some access to some office supplies that could be shared with the school. So, we put them in connection there. But again, I think that goes back to quality businesses, people in our community that see beyond the four walls that they work in, that see that we're all a community. We all have something to contribute to each other, and that we build our community up as we strengthen our schools, as we strengthen each other. And so I was excited to have that conversation both here in Springfield and from someone from White House just yesterday. So great opportunity to partner with these individuals. And sometimes I'm sure businesses just feel that, somebody's out trying to sell something or trying to get something. But, this is truly an opportunity where they were reaching out saying, we'd like to volunteer to help do things. And again, I know we've talked about that. If you can volunteer just a few hours, schools always have projects, maybe it's come do some landscaping, come, freshen up the campus with some flowers, or to trim some bushes this time of year, things like that, just really make a difference, that schools don't always have the access to do those things. Come and help in the office, making some copies or answering the telephone. Or I was at a school I guess it was last week, and, somebody just brought in a box of donuts for the teachers and said, enjoy these and things like that. So reaching out, being able to do that.
Well, that's really cool. And you mentioned people come to our PTO. That's something that's been a new service
And it's a
this
new
year.
PTO, right?
Yeah. And so the PTO is coming in, and we'll get an email. PTO's here if you need help making copies. I'm not somebody that needs a lot of copies, but I can imagine for some of these classes where you're having to put little booklets together. I went in the other day, just so happened to be the day that I did make copies for a test, and I just, it wasn't a big thing. And I went in, and one of the PTO volunteer was there, and I mean, she was clipping and a cutting, and and I thought, isn't that wonderful? Because I can imagine for whoever teacher she was taking care of, that was a chore. Yeah. I mean, she had been at it a while and was still at it. And I thought, that saved that teacher 30 minutes to where she can be really prepping her curriculum, whoever it was. Like I said, I don't know who the teacher was, but that puts her back in the classroom working on a curriculum rather than standing there with the copy machine. Right. And so just little things like that. It's just amazing what you can do. And
I think
always stuff to do.
Back to days I was in the classroom, we had 40-minute classes. And so, in your 40-minute, people call it a break time. It's not a break time. It's a planning time.
No.
So, to get ready to try to grade papers, to try to, go to the bathroom, try to grab a Coke or something like that. Yeah. And then thinking you've got to cut out and run copies and make things like that. So what a great opportunity to share.
People just don't have it until you've taught. You really don't. You don't get it. I get so tickled at the little memes I see about teaching now, about the just rush all day. And the first time I stepped into the classroom, and my friend Muriel Barnett, she's one of my best friends, and she, retired after 30 some odd years, extraordinary math teacher, but she was retiring and leaving as I was coming in. And we go to church together, and we've served together in a couple of ministries and stuff. And so I was there. She goes, well, how are you doing? She goes, and she just laughed out loud at me. She goes, so how was it? I said, I can't take my eyes off of them. And she said, exactly. And it was so funny because you do have you get that little moment of you've got it, you've got 15, 20 minutes to get your lunch down. And it's like, and if anybody dares to knock on your door, forget lunch, and you have your planning. Ideally for us, it'd be an hour and a half, but by the time you get everything set for the classes, you've got 3 different classes you're doing planning for. Like I said, trying to go to the bathroom, it goes so fast.
Right.
And you just have no idea, because that's why I was telling Samantha Grimes, I said, I'm going to send you stuff because I'm up middle of the night working on stuff when I can't sleep, or you have to, because you just don't. I was getting some curriculum together last night for several hours because I had some, things going this week that I had to do some prep work that I knew I would not have adequate time
Right.
when I got to school. And you just have no idea unless you've been in the classroom. That's the reason we get summers off, is because, man, while we're in school, it is nonstop. And it's crazy hours too. So, but it's a blessing and it's wonderful. So we do appreciate our volunteers. Back
That's
to
right.
what he was saying, we
Right.
appreciate we appreciate the community, the community partners. Raise your hand. Let's mention that before I forget. That is something when you're talking about helping read and to do tutorials. Raise Your Hand through United Way is a cooperative that is really making a difference, and your students can volunteer and get their volunteer hours. Teachers can volunteer if you just want to serve. And if you're not, I mean, you're like, I teach all day, but this is something you could do really easily. If just an hour a week, maybe if you're a high school teacher going and helping at one of the elementaries and they need you. The one thing with all adults have to go through a background check that they pay for, but you can go to United Way and click on volunteer and raise your hand. And that's a way to help with the tutorial programs and stuff. So there's just all kinds of ways to help. So we've got a few minutes left. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Last thing, just wanted to plug, and again, I think you've got a music background, and I do too as a musician. So tonight is our band exhibitions.
Oh, wonderful.
And so each one of our high school bands will be coming that rotates through our county schools. So they're actually going to be in Greenbrier tonight. And so, I know at our halftime shows, bands start midsummer learning, some of them learning how to play instruments, some of them learning how to march for the first time. But, they spend a lot of time in preparing their halftime shows and their competition shows. And so tonight, each one of our 6 bands will be going through the process, and they'll be at Greenbrier. So they're actually going to perform their show just as if they would at halftime.
Okay, cool.
And, sometimes we get distracted, if we're there at a football game and, we run to the concession stand or you get to talking and things like that. So you may not see the entire show. But tonight, Mr. J.R. Baker is our fine arts coordinator, and so they put together just a night of exhibition where each band has that time to come out there uninterrupted. It's totally focused on music, focused on the bands, and so they're going to be performing tonight. It is a free event. They will be taking donations for a scholarship program that we have here in the school system. But again, we invite parents, grandparents, and the community to come out and see their bands. That'll be an exciting time. And while we're on extracurricular activities, all of our fall sports are, heavily in the middle of their seasons, but our middle schools are about to wrap up their seasons for football and volleyball. So another week or two in volleyball, another week or so in football, and then they'll be having their tournaments and middle school tournaments. So those sports and events are wrapping up. I guess we're about a third of the way through high school football, almost through high school volleyball, and golf is happening. So lots of good activities. And again, we'd invite people to come out and support our students. Soccer is out there. That's right.
Soccer is out too. I was thinking there's one more.
One more.
Yeah.
But just support our student athletes. Come enjoy a night out. Nights are beautiful right now. A little chilly. Wear your jackets, but come out and see those and support them. And again, our fine arts, the bands are again, we're excited for that tonight. And then many of them, people may not know, but bands actually compete now.
Oh yeah.
And so starting, I think this weekend begins their season, and so a lot of them are out going to competitions, and they'll perform and they get judged, and then they're rated and move on through that competition level.
And they work all summer. Mr. Martin, he is wonderful. And I told him, I ran into him right at the first school. I said, man, you've been working all summer, because I've been seeing him out there. And he loves it. And he's excellent. And we're helping him with some sound for his competition. And do you know what time they start tonight? Because I don't know the start time.
It is on our website. I know
Okay,
that.
I'll go check it out. I'll go check it out. But we've got the band exhibition tonight, so we'll see if I can't get that up on the sign, because I wasn't aware it was tonight.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. So I'll see if I can get it at least on our little marquee.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Is that it?
Absolutely, that's it.
All right. Well, right on time. It's 8:00, and that wraps us up. Appreciate you joining us again, Dr. Danny Weeks, our director of schools. If you're new, go and listen. You'll learn all about Robertson County Schools. His door is always open over on Counts Boulevard. They are the central office, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow is the Good News Day. That's what we're going to be talking about. But now we haven't forgotten, too, that it is also 9/11. So, we'll be talking a little bit about that. Got to take a moment to just, I don't know, remember. And so, but,